I think that 2.8 as far as to past players only goes back to like 2017 or something like that. It only goes back a handful of years.
You can't go back too far. Everybody's getting a $5 check.
Exactly. Like, I don't think Johnny Rogers is getting anything out of this.
We're gonna start saying, were you a college athlete from 1973 to 2024?
It's going to coincide with the asbestos commercials that you see late
the Camp Lejeune commercials.
Exactly. Have you been affected by the NCAA being douchebags?
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. We get better and better. Be the JPB. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
Welcome back, boys.
Good to be back.
Tabitha did a nice job filling in for you last week.
She did.
She did great.
It's definitely a different vibe, different dynamic, but I thought she did a pretty all right job.
She did.
She used to work on her beard.
He's right here.
No, okay. Babe, if you're watching Disregard, you do not need facial hair to be on the show again. Prefer if you did not. In fact, thank you.
Soul patch.
No, that was
something.
It was fun. It was good. It was good
Just a little tickler.
I can never get her to talk Nebraska football that much. Anyway, she's more of an NFL person. But
Yeah.
I can never get her to like pay any attention to off-season stuff. But when I was like, "Hey, will you do the show with me?" Okay, now you got I got her to agree, and then I tricked her into that she was going to have to like do some research with me. And God, getting her to pay attention long enough to watch the On 3 or the Chasing 3.
Yeah. It helped that was like right there too.
Yes.
To be able to,
And it's at least reasonably entertaining, but still, like, I can't get her to watch any show with me or any movie with me for more than 10 minutes. And it was like, we got like 7 minutes, and she's like, "Oh my God, how long is this?" She's just not a TV person at all.
She did great.
Yeah, getting her to watch, what was that, 30 minutes?
yeah, it was
Something like that.
I think it was, a little over 30.
The fact that we got all the way through it and then also watched Sean Callahan's ridiculously childish interview of that German dude. Have you guys watched that yet?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my God.
I generally don't watch most things that
It seemed
I try to not pay attention to what his partners.
This was not childish because of any of it, other than the guy, dude. Like, the dude literally reminded us of Borat. Like, we both said it basically at the same time. It seemed like a joke. It seemed like some sort of a parody skit you'd see on SNL. Also, the fact that, and it was really funny because their podcast, once he got back, he kind of threw his cameraman, like they had a professional videographer that went with them. I figured it was just like Sipple holding this camera, because there were shots where it was like this dude must have been sitting on the ground, like having a sandwich at the time. Like, it's point and shoot, man. It's not that hard in 2024.
Now, let me ask the question again. You think Sipple knows how to run a camera?
Well, Jed, that's interesting. That's an intriguing question, Jed.
Yeah, I got to be careful
You
here.
know, I watched the film on him running the film.
It was funny today. Sipple was on Unsportsmanlike Conduct, and Josh and Mike Schaefer were hosting, and they were joking about how everybody that does a show wants to have Sipple on their show. Like, all the podcasters want to have him on their show. And I tweeted into Josh and I said, I'm not going to name any names, but I can guarantee you that not everybody that has a podcast wants Sipple on their show.
what week is he going to be on?
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
Little does Jed know he'll be on mid-August.
Surprise guest comes out.
No, we're dogging on him a little bit. I mean, we don't want to ruffle any feathers, but yeah, it's not our vibe. Not our vibe.
Not my cup of tea. I'm, whatever. To each their own. If you like him, cool.
I mean, he's got what, 3.5 decades of
7.5. I don't know.
7.5 decades of Husker legends that he's talked to.
So. No, and I'm not going to sit here and say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's just annoying to listen to, and I can't stand him. I don't know. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know what he's doing.
He's intriguing. That's interesting. That's intriguing. Anyway, we want to have a quick discussion about the NCAA settlement stuff. How we feel that's going to affect things. We kind of talked. You called me this weekend. You weren't supposed to be coming back yet. We weren't supposed to be doing a show yet, but you were a little bit fired up about that and just doing some research on it. And the funny thing is we were kind of talking pre-show, like, trying to get our thoughts in order a little bit, kind of agreed that, we have information, but we also still don't know anything. Nobody knows anything.
We know what is potentially happening, but we have no idea what's going to happen and how it's going to be implemented and when it's going to be implemented.
All of the analysis around this is it could do this. It might do this.
Well, I think
there's not a lot of.
I think the only thing definitive that we've gotten out of basically the last 3 or 4 years of the NIL stuff coming down and all the different
portal,
all the different transfer portal things, but there's just been so much. There was so much overreach of the NCAA on college athletics in general that basically all these schools have just gone and they've gotten legal situations involved, like whatever it may be, whether they're directly suing the NCAA or they've just basically circumvented them in some of these instances that they basically just said, hey, you guys got to back off. Like you're not judge, jury, executioner on these things.
And some of them have just flat out looked at the NCAA and said, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want to. And if you have a problem with this, feel free to tell us not to.
Sue me.
And then we will go to court and you will lose because you lose every battle that you have when you go to court. So feel free to come at me.
Including this one, which they settled, but they lost.
Yeah.
So we don't have a ton of specifics, but we do have some pretty close to it, which is the payouts that are going to former athletes and then the percentage that Power 5 schools are going to get.
Yeah.
Payouts are going to be $2.8 billion to former college athletes, and then 22% of average Power 5 school revenue going forward, which is about $20 million annually per school in the future.
And I think that 2.8 as far as to past players only goes back to like 2017 or something like that. It only goes back a handful of years.
You can't go back too far. Everybody's getting a $5 check.
Exactly. Like I don't think Johnny Rogers is getting anything out of this.
We're gonna start saying, were you a college athlete from 1973 to 2024?
It's gonna coincide with the asbestos commercials that you see
the
late at
Camp
night.
Lejeune commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been affected by the NCAA being douchebags?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, but you make a good point that they can only go back so far. But at the same time, once this gets done, who's to say you're not going to see, the Reggie Bush getting his Heisman stuff back?
Yeah.
Yes, that's not anything technically to do with the NCAA.
Yeah, it has nothing to do
but
with
if the NCAA turns around and then gives USC their championship back, you're opening the door to a bunch of different punishments and things like that have ruined people's careers that you're going to see former coaches, like I'm thinking of a Jim Tressel right now.
Or SMU from the 80s.
Getting the death penalty.
When they got the death penalty and stuff because they were flat out giving Eric Dickerson a gold Mustang and just bags and bags and bags of cash everywhere.
What a gold Mustang. That sounds cool.
He got at least $70 in a gold Mustang.
No, we're getting bags of cash and they didn't give a shit who knew about it. And they got the flat out death penalty and the program went away for a while.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
But I just think about stuff like this, like situations like that, and it's like, what is going to be kind of the statute of limitations on these things? Because like Jim Tressel's career got ruined because some dudes got tattoos. Like you look at the stuff that's happening now. Like a couple tattoos is, I don't care if they got a couple thousands of dollars. For tattoos.
You don't even need receipts for that. That's how little that expenditure is.
Like, I'm sorry, but you look at situations like that, and like Jim Tressel, who was, probably making at the time, what was that, 2014 that he got? 2013, 14, somewhere in there?
Well, I don't remember.
I mean, he was probably making $2.5 million as a head coach, which was high-end coaching money back then, and they ruined the rest of his career.
Yeah.
He hasn't coached since.
Well, because he had like a 5-year show cause penalty against him where if any university was going to hire him as a coach, they had to show reasonable cause to be able to hire him without punishment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So who's going to hire him?
Exactly. And you think about, like, that's literally like you're giving that coach the death penalty in his career.
Pretty much. Well, especially at his age.
And that's absolutely something that can be sued for.
Mm-hmm.
And so the NCAA just as a whole, and when these snowball effect things start happening, I mean, who knows who they have and haven't settled with behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But if I was Jim Tressel, I'd be going after them for every freaking penny that I've missed out on since.
Eric Crouch should go after them for the $12 that he had to pay them back for his sandwich on the airplane.
I do not know this story.
I feel like that was a news story in like 2000. That's insane.
Well, it was like 99 or something like that. He had like this flight back from, out west Nebraska or whatever, and he got a free sandwich on this flight. And they deemed it was a violation, a benefit.
What?
And he had to pay back the NCAA for whatever the value of the sandwich was. It was like $10, like whatever the hell. I don't remember.
Are you serious
I'm
right
dead
now?
serious. Look it up.
What?
Eric
Why?
Crouch pays back for a sandwich.
What the
That's
fuck?
incredible.
You hear that? Crouch, get after him, man. You got to go get that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's funny.
Make sure your lawyer gets his percentage, though.
But I mean, Jed, I know you did a lot more research on this than we did. Was there anything that really stood out to you about this? Because I know one of the things pre-show that we were kind of talking about was what this was going to do as far as getting a union started, or what type of player representation we're going to see in the future. How these revenue shares that are estimated at basically 20 million right now, where's that number coming from?
Yeah, who negotiated that number?
Yeah, what's happening with this? And the point that I think you made that I thought was the most relevant is that it's not like it's going to be a players' union like what we see in the NBA or the MLB or the NFL, because those players are only here for a handful of years.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a career long stop,
Mhm.
long-term stop for them. And you also see typically in those unions, it's going to be the higher end players that are more of a leadership representative. Most of the higher end players that would be in that leadership role in college athletics are here for 3 years and gone. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any more details on that stuff right now as it sits, but
No,
you know way more about unions than we do.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm part of a union, but that doesn't mean I know a lot about
It
unions.
instantly makes you far more qualified than me.
I'm just saying, I mean, I'm very thankful for the union that I'm in with the Postal Service because they saved me from keeping my job. But I just don't, and I'm not, and I'm also not Mr. Union go guy. Also, because I understand that there are times specifically in sports, professional sports, where sometimes the professional union can get in the way of, progress in the, whatever sport that they're in with contracts and stuff like that. So they're not 100% always the best thing in the world, but I just don't understand how you can just randomly come up with this $20 million.
Well, and they didn't. So now that I've read through it again, they decided on a percentage based on the average Power 5 school's revenue.
Who said
So I'm
what that percent was going to be?
They did some sort of an analysis on, this is what these schools, the NCAA, can actually afford to pay on a year-by-year basis.
Okay.
It's not just flat out 20 million a year, because it'll go up as revenue goes up.
You're right. Okay, so what about school by school? The revenue is different. So is that an overall encompassing number as far as the percentage of the revenue? Do they just add everybody's revenue together and say this is the percentage?
Yeah, it's an average of the Power 5 schools' revenue.
I would think that when this gets all said and done, that's going to have to be based on a percentage of that school's revenue generated. It can't. There's no way they can just go blanket statement, because they really, at that point, then you're being really unfair to some of the smaller market teams that are going to have the smallest share of that revenue. Yeah. Especially in some of the new TV deals that are out that are all tiered.
Yeah, if they're all having to pay the same amount, not only in the future, but they're taking a hefty chunk of that $2.8 billion payout to past athletes as well.
That's pocket change to Notre Dame, but it to an SMU, like you just said, or something, a Kansas or some of those that are a smaller market team. That might be a significant chunk.
like revenue isn't just the TV revenue. It's also the ticket sales and the merchandise and all this other stuff. So you're going to tell me that Minnesota, for instance, we've been up to Minnesota a few times.
52,500 seats.
That's not always full. It's full when Nebraska goes there, but it's not always full.
It's full of Nebraska fans.
Or even in Northwestern, who they only fill up their stadium when Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan go there.
Yeah. And that's lucky if they get it full. But even when Nebraska was at Minnesota, the entire south end zone that was all student section, those were free tickets to the students. So even that was not an entire...
Nice.
That was not an entire Foul on Matt. We got this new board. I thought we were going to need the sound effects over here. Matt's still doing his own.
Like a record scratch.
Yeah, it was.
I completely lost my train of thought.
Those types of teams are not bringing in, they're bringing in the same TV revenue, but they're not bringing in the same number of revenue that all these other, Ohio State, Nebraska, Notre Dame, like you said. And let's just go with just the Big Ten, because again, the TV revenue is going to be the same. But $20 million, again, just throwing out that number, to Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, those types of schools is much different than $20 million to Minnesota and Northwestern and stuff like that. So
$20 million is different to Iowa.
So how is that really fair?
It's not.
There's no way.
I'm not saying it needs to be.
There could be some actual financial implications on some of those lower teams.
That's kind of my point of the whole negotiations process with unions and everything else like that. How is that fair?
You look at some of the teams that can't get anybody. You said Northwestern. That's a perfect example. Yes, that is a super high-end private school, which they're not. The school itself is not hurting for money whatsoever. But you're looking at an athletic program, an athletic department there that's probably operating in the red pretty much all the time. And you're going to
throw an extra $20 million at it.
You're going to turn around and tell me that you're starting the year off with a $20 million bill.
Yeah,
that's I don't see that flying.
And that's after they chip in on the $1.7 billion they have to contribute to pay out to.
So
and whatever fucking settlement they're going to have to pay to Pat Fitzgerald.
And then you add on to that who's getting this revenue share? Is it just the revenue sports? Is it equal according to Title IX? Who's getting this share of the revenue? And also, is everybody getting an equal share as far as this football getting figured out? That
if they try and come in and say that every student athlete, just like the student athlete payments when those first started, what was that? Was it 2020 or was it 2019?
Right around
whatever
there.
It was, but it was like the $1,400 a semester or something like that. If they're going to come in and say that every student athlete's going to get the exact same amount, regardless of who it is, that's complete and utter bullshit. Just like it would be complete and utter bullshit if it's the exact same bill for every university.
Yeah.
So, like you said before, I don't remember if you said it on here, if it was just when we were prepping, this is a long way from done.
Yes.
This is a really long way from done, and the rough draft is laughable.
I mean, I think they're going in the right direction. All of this stuff needs to happen, in my opinion, but I just don't. Everybody freaking out over certain numbers and what they're saying, well, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. We have no clue. I did say this to you in the prep, Matt, where, a couple of years ago when we were talking about the freak out of NIL and transfer portal and everybody's trying to figure it out. And you said on this show, like, everybody just needs to relax and just let it play itself out. I know that doesn't make for a good podcast and things like that, but I'm just saying,
you're spot on that on this, but at the same time, this is another one of those things where it's like, okay, cool. We already have a back pay adjustment happening for athletes going back in 2017.
Or whatever year it was. I don't know.
Whatever it is.
2016.
The kids that are out there right now, they're all chomping at the bit, especially the ones that are at the smaller end schools, like we've talked about, that probably aren't all on, at Nebraska, every single football player, as far as I know, every single student athlete is on an NIL deal right now.
I would assume so.
But every school out there is not going to be in that situation. There's a lot of schools out there that aren't going to have much of an NIL collective to speak of. And so they're all, those kids that aren't probably making anything, that are still in an old school situation, they're chomping at the bit. Hey, I heard we're supposed to be getting $20 million to split up amongst the rest of us. Let's get this going. It's going to get loud from those people.
It will get loud, but I mean, earliest estimates that we're seeing money come out of this are fall of 2025.
So next season,
there's going to be a gap in here between where the cutoff was for the former player payout and when the money starts actually flowing to current players.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get hosed in the middle there.
Yep. And one of the other things that is coming from this settlement, talking about the extra funding and the extra money for players, is they are probably going to eliminate scholarship caps. So, for instance, like baseball only allows like 12.8 scholarships for the, roughly 30 players that they have, or 20-something players that they have on the roster. And now they're saying if you have enough money, you can fund full scholarships for everybody. And again, what's the ramification for stuff like that with Title IX and everything else? And they're talking about with football having a roster limitation since, with the revenue sharing to all the players, capping the rosters, not scholarships necessarily, but the rosters at a certain number. Of course, the first number that comes up is 85 because it's 85 scholarships. And everybody lost their fucking mind.
Isn't there a travel roster number anyway?
In conference, it's like 70 or 60, high 60s, 70. Like
Make it even.
Well, I don't remember what the exact number is, but you don't bring like all the guys, obviously. But like everybody freaking out saying, 85 is way too low for a roster limitation. And I'm just kind of curious. I'm not saying that I agree or disagree. I don't really know what I feel is the correct roster number because, again, will play itself out. But I don't understand why people are freaking out that 85 is such a low number.
How many people do you think there are out there that aren't of the old school mindset that think, the walk-on program's the only way Nebraska was ever any good?
No, there's a lot.
No, but I'm saying how many people are out there that aren't at Nebraska, that are, a Georgia fan, that are an Alabama fan, that are whatever it might be, that haven't even talked about walk-ons for the last who knows how long.
Actually, when this number came out, there were a lot of coaches that came out and said this will kill walk-on programs across the country and all that stuff. So, like, there actually were coaches that came out publicly saying that they need to have more than 85 roster limits because they want to be able to have walk-ons still and stuff.
So, but my thing is, if you're going to, the way that a roster is limited in the NFL to 53 players active during the season, I think it's an 82 or 73, something like, I don't remember what the number is for offseason. There's a cap on that too, but then they have to be back under it by the end of the preseason. But they have a practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
And
of 8, 9, 10 people?
No. I think you can roster up to 16 extra players on the practice squad or something like that. But that could be your walk-on program.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you just because we're capping your actual roster size, it's just like the travel roster. It's different than the regular roster. Just because they cap our roster size doesn't mean that we can't have a JV walk-on team or a JV scout team or something along those lines that's classified as a fucking intramural. Who knows?
They
can still have that happen, and those guys can still be involved in practices.
They don't even actually have to cap the roster size itself. They need to cap the number of players from that sport that can be a part of the revenue share.
Yeah.
If you want to go over that, sorry, you're not getting any part of this revenue share. You can still be on the team. That's essentially what it should be.
Well, and that's kind of what the scholarship caps have been. I mean, as far as essentially, you only have certain number of scholarships for each individual sport. Yeah,
essentially that's the same thing. Is it cap the number of players you can have on the revenue share?
I just didn't understand why people thought 85 was such a low number. It's like, how many fucking people do you really need on the team?
Hey, I need a fourth string at every position.
Well, if we get a bunch of injuries and then we have to start a true freshman left tackle, it's like, well, then recruit better. I don't know what to tell you. Like, tough shit.
Well, and every team goes through that. We're gonna see what it probably is to see a lot of true freshmen play in our DB position after
maybe
seeing Ethan Nation walk off or go do whatever he's done. If it's something bad, I hope he's okay.
Yep.
I hope whatever's going on that he works through it. It'd be really cool to see him come back, but apparently when Mitch Sherman reached out for a comment on it, all he got back was he's not on the roster. And that was after they'd released the roster that he wasn't on.
Yeah.
So they're not letting anything happen, not letting anything know. It'd be dumb to speculate on it, but
yeah,
you assume it's something serious.
Not to completely derail what we were talking about, but I did look up for the Eric Crouch thing.
Okay. Here we go.
He got a plane ride through central Nebraska worth $13.41.
The plane ride?
Yes. on the plane, he also ate a ham sandwich valued at $4. So he had to pay that money back.
A ham sandwich.
Yeah.
He had to pay a crispy $20 bill.
Yeah.
How would you like just for a second?
Otherwise he would have been suspended.
Think about being whatever fucking dumb intern it was that they assigned to write this letter that had to go out to Eric Crouch. Think about being that guy that had to sign that and send it over to him.
Yeah, official letterhead and all that too.
Oh yeah, they probably spent as much on postage and his time as they did the fucking $4 for Eric Crouch.
Yeah, this was it. This was in 2000.
How did they even find out about it?
I have no idea. No.
Like who's the dumbass that was like, "Oh my god, I saw Eric Crouch take a free sandwich. I can't believe it."
Free sandwich in a flight across Nebraska. It sounds like.
I remember there's a story of Rick Majerus, who's passed away now. He was a great head coach for Utah basketball back in the 90s and probably 2000s. He once had a kid who lost one or both of his parents, unfortunately, and of course the kid was distraught and whatever else. He took the kid out for lunch to have a pizza just to be able to talk to him and whatever else. And the NCAA busted him for taking the kid out for lunch.
That's so
It's like,
fucked up.
Jesus Christ.
That's not.
Like,
That's just fucked up.
Somebody should sue him for that.
yeah.
Just use some common sense. But it's just like what we talked about going back to the Jim Tressel thing.
Yeah.
Like you wrecked a Hall of Fame coach's career over some fucking tattoos.
Yep.
That I guarantee he didn't know shit about.
Eh.
Whatever. Even if he did know. Even if he drove him to the fucking tattoo
Yeah.
appointment, who
Yeah.
gives a shit? It's free tattoos.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, and who doesn't matter.
God damn, man. That like I hate Ohio State. I have since I was a
Yeah.
little kid. But I felt for that. Like
Yeah.
I was like, that is wrong. I don't care who you are, that is wrong.
Yep.
He probably would have got another natty or two out of it if he had stayed.
Possibly.
I would've-
Yeah.
Who knows?
I thought it was funny that when they got busted, they all the offending players voluntarily sat out the bowl game. What if they don't?
Yeah, but what if you're getting drafted in the first round? Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
That's all right, because I think they all had shit NFL careers
Yeah,
anyway.
who cares?
Who cares? On to something that I thought was a little bit interesting. We're recording this Tuesday night. Yesterday was they had this whole weekend of camps, and yesterday was this postgraduate camp, which I think is interesting, which kind of sounds like, even though maybe on the surface it doesn't look like it was planned, maybe it was planned. Because we've all been wondering, where the fuck are we going to get an extra quarterback from? And dude just kind of walks out there. Nobody knew he was coming. I don't believe that. They didn't know he was coming.
Well, I mean, they probably had him on the list, and they're like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. Some
Do
dude.
you really think that that's true, though? Because the way that they evaluate talent and go out and search high and low and find these guys that some of them aren't
Well, they
even
weren't
playing
invited to
football.
the camps. I mean,
No,
you
I
sign up for
understand.
them, so it's,
I get that, but I don't
Or
believe
were
that he
they?
walked in.
Yeah.
I don't believe he walked into Memorial Stadium and nobody knew who he was.
I have no idea.
Who knows? But we're talking about Jalen Gramstad. He's at Iowa Northwestern. Is that
Yeah.
right? And I believe that's actually, I think Tabitha actually talked about it on the show she did with us. That's where her brother played. So I'm going to have to ask him about it. I'm going to see him this weekend. I'm going to ask him because I believe he was there the first year that Jalen was there, and he started there as a safety. So we'll see. We'll see if he knows anything about him. But the dude's a stud. I mean, you know more about him than I do. It seems like
I don't. I mean, I just know about what they talked about him on the radio today. I don't know.
I didn't catch that.
No, I mean, the funny thing is everybody's freaking out about him because he did have great numbers. He had like 30-something touchdowns and 3,000 yards last year. But Mike Schaefer on the radio today was like, in my opinion, he wasn't even the best quarterback that was there. So I don't know.
And yet he was the NAIA Player of the Year
Yeah.
2 years in a row or some shit like that. I mean, he has great stats, but at the same time, he's listed at 6'1", 190.
Yeah.
Like he's a slight little dude. I don't know. Like he kind of reminds me of like a Bailey Zappi. And I know you like Bailey Zappi when he was in college. He
I
broke
loved
all
him.
it was all D2 records, wasn't it?
No, it was at Western Kentucky.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But I mean, he's technically still in the NFL. He's probably going to lose his backup job this
Yeah.
year, but that's what he reminds me of. He's undersized. He's got some playmaker ability, it sounds like, but at the same time, like, are you telling me that our other walk-on guys we have back there aren't just as good, if not better than this?
At best, he's a third-string guy for us this year, and I hope the third-string guy, no matter who he is, doesn't get on the field.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't care.
Well, it goes back to
It's great for depth, but like, okay.
it goes back to our conversation about, do we really think we need a fourth scholarship quarterback? I still don't. If he comes on, I doubt that he's going to get a scholarship anyway.
Yeah,
But if
that's
he does,
kind of why
cool,
I don't.
He's an extra guy back there.
Yeah,
He's only got 1 year of eligibility and technically a red shirt, I guess. That
yeah,
can use.
he can redshirt this year. So I mean, okay.
By the way, he did not go to Iowa Western. He's at the
No, he's-
Northwestern Raiders.
Yeah, Iowa Northwestern. I said.
Oh, gotcha.
I just threw the Iowa ahead of it, so nobody thought I was talking about Northwestern.
Got it.
Not that
You
not,
confused me.
not that Northwestern.
Red, not purple.
Yes.
Raiders, not Pussycats. I mean Wildcats.
Same thing.
Whatever. That's all I got on this one.
I mean,
boys.
it's an interesting thing to possibly, but I hope he doesn't get on the field, like, period. Because if he does, we're fucked. Like, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because that means Raiola and Harburg are injured. Like, and probably
and
Danny
Kalen's
Like,
already gone through his 4 games.
does it really matter if he plays? Like,
I feel like
it'll make you feel all nice and fuzzy because he'll have an extra year for next year. But even next year, do you want him to play?
Well, the question that I
Won't make me
heard,
feel all nice and fuzzy.
no,
Just to have an extra body is all I'm trying to say.
an extra body, sure. But the other question that I heard this morning was switch one of our second or third string guys, switch Kalen over to his position at Northwestern or Harburg over to his position at Northwestern. Would he lead him to a national championship, and would they be able to win, the way that he's won? It's like, well, first of all, it's not even close to light competition, so you have no fucking idea.
I know.
You're basically comparing small ball high school to, Texas big boy high school football. It's not the same thing. It's not to say it couldn't happen, but I don't see an undersized quarterback back like this being a rock star backup. And on top of that, I don't think there's near as many injury concerns with Harburg if he's not running the ball like he was last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's being safer. He's a big body, strong dude as it is. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, it's a cool story if he comes, and if he has any sort of an impact, even if it's off the field, cool.
Just remember, it's cool if he comes. Like, subscribe, follow. We love you.
You heard it here first.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.